A record number of people are projected to get away this year as post-pandemic travel surging continuing. But our next guest company is riding this wave, particularly with a resurgence in travel overseas. I want to bring in Booking Holdings CEO Glenn Fogel, parent company to almost a dozen travel brands, including Kayak and Priceline. Booking Holdings saw a 76% year-over-year jump in Q1 earnings out yesterday, with gross bookings up 10%. His rival, Expedia, not doing as well. We should talk about that as well. I think, Glenn, we're trying to understand where we are in this economy. What is the strength of the consumer? And is the YOLO economy, is it still going here?
Morning, Andrew, and thanks for having me. YOLO. You know, here's the thing. Travel has always been something people always wanted to do, even before the pandemic. And of course, pandemic kept people from doing it. So when we came out of the pandemic, there was that revenge travel, which has petered out a little bit. We're getting more a normalized travel environment, though Asia is still recovering somewhat, which is why we had such nice numbers last night to announce about Asia with a mid-teens growth over last year. That was more a post-pandemic benefit. Look, all around people want to travel, and we're glad to be able to provide great services to them.
To the extent that you were talking about Asia, you can look to different markets. Where are you seeing strength, and to the extent you're seeing weakness, where's that?
Well, as we talked last night, regionally, where we had Asia was the strongest, that's post-pandemic benefit. And then we saw high single digits for Europe and the rest of the world, as we call that category. And then the U.S., low single digits. That being said, though, a lot of it's impacted by when did areas come out of pandemic and when do you get more normalized. So I wouldn't point to say, oh, this area is weak because of a lower number. I would say more that's an effect of what was happening because of the pandemic.
Do you have any sense of this idea about trade down? You know, we heard from Andy Jassy on the broadcast a couple weeks ago about what he called trade down in the retail space. You know, we saw these McDonald's numbers, Starbucks numbers. I don't know if we're supposed to take anything away from that, but clearly there is a part of the economy which is more challenged, and whether you see any of that.
You know, we really don't. And we look very closely at two key metrics that I'm always looking at. Am I seeing people trading down for a lower star rated hotel? That's one. And the second thing, am I looking for seeing people who are going to take a less number of days, shorter length of stay on their travels? And we're not seeing that either. So I'm not seeing those. That to me says, okay, we're not seeing a weakness in the travel industry yet. And we talked about last night on the call, I talked about we see a healthy amount of business for the summer. So that's good.
Big policy Washington question. We just talked to Ted Cruz about this yesterday. This bill that the Biden administration has put forth, or rule, I should say, that would have forced airlines to send refunds to all consumers that were either delayed or where their plane was canceled. That appears to be stalled again now because there are four Congress folks or people in Washington, senators, including Ted Cruz, who think that this is a bad policy. Not that it shouldn't happen, but shouldn't happen the way it's happening, I think. I don't want to put words in his mouth. What do you think?
Well, look, this is an issue for a lot of people in terms of something goes wrong and how are you going to be compensated for it? And it basically is going to be if we want to create a government-run, what is essentially an insurance program, essentially. If something goes wrong, you're going to get compensated right away. And we're going to do that through the airlines having to give the money back very quickly. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it, people buy travel insurance on their own, a private way to do it. Lots of different ways to do it. And countries around the world do it differently. In Europe, you do get compensated if your airline had a delay and didn't get you where you're supposed to go. These are all things that can be paid by a government that when it's democratically elected and the people who are in charge, they can make the decisions. Either way, though, there are no free lunches. That's the critical thing to understand. Do you want to do it in a government mandated way? That's one way to do it. Do you want to do it in a private way? That's another way to do it. Either way, though, when things go wrong, the question is who has to pay for it?
Well, I don't think in this case that's what we're talking about. It's a matter of whether you're going to have to haggle for it. And that's the big issue right now, right? Whether you have the time to spend 3 hours on hold with the airline to get your money back.
Yeah, that absolutely is a horrible thing. Boy, if you get it in 3 hours, great to you, because I know people, unfortunately, have had much longer times to get a refund and stuff, and absolutely, we do not want to have that happen. One would think in a free market type thing, an airline that gives less good service would end up with fewer
You would think, Glenn,
passengers.
but Glenn, you know better than anybody, given that you run the platforms, you run Kayak. Most people are looking at price, especially for coach tickets, over a loyalty program. No? Am I wrong about that?
Well, I would say this. I am fully in favor of whatever our democratically elected senators and congresspeople and our administrator want to come out with. We will follow it, and I'm in favor of it. I myself, we don't make the refunds. We don't make the delays. We're a distributor. I will say one thing great, Andrew, we should talk about, and that is AI. Because one of the things we're spending a lot of time on AI is customer service and being able to do it. We're using that. You're not going to have those long delays. And the AI system, and we're doing it right now, will be able to come back someone right away. So I think hopefully in the future, you and I won't have to have this discussion at all.